Today, I'm going to show you how you can use Gadget as a custom backend for your Shop Mini apps. Gadget has built-in JWT authentication that helps manage your sessions and users when you call your Gadget actions. This means your Shop Minis will be multi-tenant by default when you build with Gadget. Let's get started. Hey everyone. Before I start my mini app build and walk you through Gadget's template for building your Shop Mini apps, I just want to explain a little bit about what mini apps are and what's so special about the Shop Mini ecosystem. So mini apps are little apps. They're mini, believe it or not, built with web tech, HTML, CSS, JS that don't run in a browser. So in our case, an example is our mini apps will run inside an existing mobile app. And there's a couple of reasons you might want to do this. It's a way to extend an app's functionality without the app author or original app owner having to manually add all the features and code. It's also a way for builders or developers to get access to an existing customer base. So if you're building mini apps for the Shopify Shop app, you're going to get access to all of the people who are buying products on the Shop app instead of having to build your own mobile app, start from scratch, and then connect to Shopify. The other advantage is that a lot of these mini app ecosystems have things like APIs, scaffolding, common components that you can use to actually build your mini app. So you're not starting from scratch. Another example is the Discord mobile app on your iPhone or Android device. Using web technologies, you can go ahead and build games for the Discord app. In fact, Apple just announced a mini apps partners program for the iOS ecosystem. And this includes building APIs so developers can actually get paid for building your mini apps. ChatGPT apps, which are apps embedded within ChatGPT, they do run in the browser, but they're kind of another style of mini app. They are designed to be mobile first. And it's just another example of how this mini app trend seems to be picking up. Now let's focus on Shop Minis now. Shop Minis are obviously going to extend, like I mentioned before, Shopify Shop app functionality. You're targeting buyers, not merchants. So it's different than admin apps, but they're kind of analogous to a custom storefront or theme extension. There is currently a Shop Minis bounty. So if you build a Shop Mini before December 20th and it's accepted, you can get 5 to 10 grand from Shopify. There's also an AI reimbursement. So I do just want to highlight that. You are using a mobile dev environment. So this is once again for a mobile ecosystem. When you're building Shop Minis, you are going to be using React and Tailwind. There's a set of components. Shopify is giving you some APIs for reading products. There are very limited packages you can use. There is a list in Shopify's documentation. If you use anything not on that list, instant rejection. You can go ahead and request packages, but Shopify does have to review them, and that could take some time. There are a lot of restrictions. I have a feeling it's going to be a very intensive review process. So just be aware of that. Check out Shopify's documentation when you're building because there are a ton of guidelines. Now, your Shop Mini app can make custom server calls. Shopify's own documentation, they have rolled an example using Supabase edge functions. I'm going to use Gadget to go ahead and act as my backend and database for a Shop Mini app. The advantage to using Gadget over something like Supabase is that Gadget has JWT authentication built in. When you use one of our special environment variables that I will show you when I show off the template, your JWT is going to be auto-validated when it's included as a bearer token on request sent from your Mini to your Gadget backend. And we're also going to go ahead and any actions called when you send that token, we're going to go ahead and add the correct session context to your actions, which includes the currently authenticated users. We're going to handle all that out of the box. You don't have to build it yourself. One other difference with our template is that we're actually using the JSON Web Token NPM package instead of hand rolling all of the auth and JWT handling. So I'm going to go ahead, start with the Gadget template, show how you can go ahead and set up auth. There's going to be a follow-up video to this where I actually build something on top of this kind of auth platform. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and set up my Shop Mini. I'm not going to actually be building an app here. I'm just going to set up auth using the Gadget template so that I can make authenticated requests from my Mini to my Gadget backend. Now, I'm not going to create a new Gadget app through our normal web portal. Instead, I am going to go to this URL. The link is in the video description. Ignore the theme customization box. I'm just going to go ahead and give my app a name. I'll just call this my auth mini. What this is going to do is fork this existing template. Really, it's going to include some additional routes and environment variables on top of my existing Gadget platform. And if you haven't used Gadget before, what I'm getting out of the box is a hosted and scaled development environment, as well as production environment. And I'm going to be making use of my Node backend. It's going to be my serverless Node backend. And then my Postgres database. So Gadget is giving you a full stack app, all stitched together, all hosted, which helps accelerate building. And as you can see here, I've got some data models. I've got my mini buyer and session. So this is going to be my users and their sessions. This is going to be mapped to tables in my Postgres database under the hood. So if I click on mini buyer, look at the schema, it's got a session. It's got token expires at public ID and state. That's all just coming from my shop mini. Session is similar, except there is my roles, my access control roles. And then I've got an auth route, HTTP route defined already with some utilities just for doing some verification. There's a web front end. I'm going to ignore that right now. We're not actually going to use it for this app. There is some pre-built access control. So there's a shop mini buyer's role that we've added by default. And then, like I mentioned before, we have a couple environment variables. So this JWT sign-in key, we've gone ahead, filled in a random JWT for you to use. And then I'm going to need the shop mini's admin API key. So this is what we're providing you out of the box. Now I'm going to walk through how you actually use this stuff. And instructions, everything I walk through now is going to be in the README file, which is also rendered here for us. So first thing I'm going to do is use GGT dev to pull my project down locally so I can generate my mini. So I'm going to go ahead, copy my command here, pop open my terminal, and just run that. What this will do, GGT is our command line tool. If you haven't installed it first, you do need to go ahead and install it. But it brings all of my Gadget files or my project files down to my local machine so I can use my local editor, source control, and get access to my CLI, which I need to generate my mini. So I'm just going to open up a new tab here and go into my auth mini. And as you see, we got APIs, minis. In fact, let's pop this open in Cursor. Make it a bit bigger there. And you can see it's my Gadget project. I've got my data models again. I've got my auth route. I'm ready to start building. I have this empty minis folder, and that's where I'm going to go ahead and generate my mini. So if we take a peek, that was step one in the README. Now I'm going to go ahead and use this command to generate a mini. I am going to change directory into my minis folder. Just run this. And this will go ahead and set up the mini scaffolding that Shopify provides. Give my mini a name, my auth mini. I don't think you're actually allowed to use the word mini or shop in your mini names. Shopify does have quite extensive guidelines that you need to follow before you submit. So make sure to browse through them. This might not be a valid name. It's like using Shopify. If you've built an admin app before, your app name can't include Shopify. Same kind of deal. Okay, so there we go. We have generated our mini. If I take a peek at Cursor, see I've got my auth mini. I've got my package.json for my mini, type file, some TS config, and I've got it is going to be written in React with Tailwind. So I see I've got an app file, main file, everything is set up. And there's this manifest that I will need to edit later. Before I do any of that, I'm actually going to run this npx shop minis setup command. I'll just copy this over. And I'm going to change directory into my mini and run this. And this will just connect my mini to one of my Shopify organizations. I'm just going to choose my Gadget organization. What this does is you see we now have a .env file with a shop mini's API key. I'm going to go ahead and copy this and I will be deleting this app. So don't try to use my API key. If I bring this back to Gadget and go to my environment variables, that's what I'm going to use for my Shop Minis admin API key. I can make it a secret and save that. So I do need to run that setup command to get this .env file with this API key. So let's move on to the next step. Just pop this open again. We can just open the README and cursor. Let's just do that. I'm going to close the AI chat because I'm not going to be using that. And let's just open this up. So we'll keep this open. We've gone ahead and done this, configured our API key. Now we need to update that manifest.json file. So if I open this, bring it over here, close the README there. Perfect. So what I need to do is add OpenID to scopes. This allows us to use auth. There we go. And I need to add my Gadget app to my trusted domain. So if I add this as another property, you do need to add your domains, and this will just be my app name. This enables me to make requests to my Gadget app. In this case, it's going to be my auth to mini. A little surprised cursor isn't suggesting it for me, but there we go. Dash development is because this is my development environment. For my production environment, I can just get rid of that. So there we go. A little awkward looking. Let's just do this. There we go. Perfect. Now in the README, I do talk about JWT signing. I'm going to come back to this in a little bit when I go through the actual auth route. So I'm just going to skip over that for now. I'm going to continue with authentication setup. So by default, your mini does have access. Shopify has a ton of hooks you can use to grab product data. You don't necessarily need a custom backend. I'm only showing steps to set up auth if your app actually needs this custom backend. If it doesn't, Shopify provides you with a ton where you can just build minis that don't require this. If you do need a custom backend, Shopify does have a Supabase edge functions example that I have pulled a bunch of this code from. And the first thing we need is a useAuth hook. And what this is going to do, well, let's copy it and create it in our mini. It's an ugly way of doing things, but if I just create a new file here, go hooks/useauth.ts, and let's paste this in here. Perfect. So this is going to do a couple things for me. Once again, we do need to replace my auth API, and this is going to be my Gadget endpoint. You see it's /shopmini/auth. What this is doing, this is just providing some utilities to go ahead and get a JWT from my server, in this case, my Gadget app. The Shop Minis React package does have a generate user token hook I need to call. So I need to go ahead, get this token, send it to my server. I'm going to make a request to the Shopify admin API from my server to validate this token. And then I'm going to generate a JWT on my server, send it back, and use this use secure storage hook to store that token. Then I'm going to use that token to make requests from my mini to my backend, and I will validate that JWT. And Gadget's going to do that JWT validation for me automatically. And when we do that, because of how we set up our JWT, we're going to also include session information, which will be linked to the current user, which allows us to take advantage of Gadget's built-in access control. That was a whole whack of stuff. Let's walk through it. So I'm not going to go through this code line by line because this is being pulled right from Shopify's example. We are getting this generate user token function that we need to call. We've got some use state hooks just to set the token. There's use effect, which has a load token, and that's only if it exists already. We are using the use secure storage to get the secret. I'm just going to skip past this for now. Get valid token, just making sure that your token is valid, checking against the expires at. I think what is more interesting, well, get valid token, I guess once we check if the token is still valid, things get interesting. So this is where we call the generate user token. We get that result. And we actually have a request here. This is our Gadget apps auth API, and we're sending that token as an authorization header. It's going to be a bearer token. What we're doing is validating that and returning a JWT as part of this response. You see, we're getting this token response, and we are setting it as part of our secret. So let's take a look at what we're doing in Gadget now. So this is pre-set up for me. This is my post auth route. You see it's shop mini auth is the actual route. So we're doing a couple things here. This is where we differ a little bit from Shopify's Supabase Edge functions example. First off, we are using this JSON Web Token package. We're not hand rolling all of the auth. Gadget also will validate my JWT for me automatically. And I'm going to explain how we do that. We do have some docs on this that I'll include as a link in the video as well. But we don't have a whole bunch of code to validate JWTs because we can do it automatically, and that ties into access control. So this is the Shopify admin endpoint that we're actually making a request to. So that's how we're validating that initial token we generate from this use generate user token. We're setting that as our authorization header. And what we're doing here in our actual route, we're just making sure that we've got our environment variables. I'm just gonna close this a little bit. Validating our environment variables exist. We're just extracting the bearer token. So once again, that is the token generated by my mini from our authorization header. And this is where we are verifying our shop mini token. So this is actually a util function. Once again, this is almost exactly from Shopify's Supabase Edge functions example. And we are actually we're taking that admin URL, Shopify admin API, sending off that API key and making sure that things are valid. We're calling this mutation. This is right from Shopify's docs, passing in the token, and we're just making sure things are valid. If it's not, we're returning is valid false. Otherwise, what we are doing, this is once again, just more validation, making sure that there are no errors on the user or anything like that. If it is valid, we're extracting a public ID, token expires at user state. You might remember those from our, go back here, mini buyer schema. So we are just gonna save this all to our Gadget database. And we're just returning this where it's valid. We have an ID for the user, an expiry, and the user state. So let's go back here. So we're getting all that information back. We're checking to see if it's valid. If not, we're just gonna throw a 401 from our auth route. Assuming everything is valid and we do have a public ID, we don't really need this logger statement. Let's go ahead and just get rid of it. This is where we're starting the gadgetification of our app or of our auth process. So we've got a built-in API client that we generate automatically when you create data models in Gadget. So it creates a CRUD API automatically, as well as an upsert action. So we're actually using this upsert as a effectively create or read this information. I mean, the token expires at could update. So it will either update an existing user or create a new mini buyer. I should say mini buyer, not user. And it's using this public ID as the unique key. So if a record for my mini buyer is detected with this public ID, it will update the record. Otherwise, it's going to create a new mini buyer. And what we're doing is we're just selecting the ID and the current session ID if it exists. The current session ID is really just, we need it when we generate our JWT. So we're returning it if it exists. That's really just for the update use case. For creation, there won't be a session yet. That comes next. We are going ahead and we're checking to see, is there a session, valid session on our mini buyer? If not, we're going ahead and actually creating. Once again, we're going API dot, this time using the internal API, which really just, instead of running any custom actions, we're just creating the session directly in the database, linking to our existing mini buyer, and we're setting the access control role on that session to shop mini buyers. This means you can use Gadget's built-in access control to select what actions that your mini buyers have access to. By default, any requests made to your Gadget API will be unauthenticated because we're going to be sending the JWT and we're using the shop mini buyers role on the session. JWTs that are associated with the shop mini buyers session will have access to any actions that are granted permission for shop mini buyers. And if we just take a look at Gadget's access control page again, so this is where we control it. So right now I can just read my mini buyer information as a shop mini buyer. But if I were to add a custom data model, I would see that model's actions here and I could grant my mini buyers access to that new data model. So I'll generate the session, then we go ahead and we are generating our JWT token. The important things on this token. So this is all coming, the public ID user state, IAT, and expiry. These are all coming straight from Shopify's example. What's unique to Gadget is this auth. I am setting it to my primary domain. So that's gonna be my Gadget app domain. And this config is just being imported from the Gadget server package. It's gonna be included in your Gadget project automatically. And then the sub is going to be the ID of my current session. And this is how we associate that session with this token. And then finally, we are signing it with that environment variable. It will already be set, so you don't need to set it. But when you use this specific environment variable name to sign this JWT with these variables, we get the built-in access control. So that's what's really important. There's more information in our docs if you want to check that out. We're just returning this token to our mini. If we flip back to our useAuth hook in our mini, our get valid token, you see we get the response, token and expires in, and then we store the token as a secret and set it as part of our mini state. So that is how auth works. Now we need to go ahead, like this will work. I'm not calling this hook yet, which is what I'm gonna be doing now. So now to actually make use of this useAuth hook, what I'm gonna do is I've got my Gadget GraphQL API. It's just /API/GraphQL that exists for all of your Gadget app environments. We're gonna go ahead and write using a GraphQL query. So Gadget, if you built apps in Gadget before, we do automatically generate a JavaScript client for your apps. Those aren't valid right now for building Shop Minis. So Shop Minis have a very restrictive set of NPM packages that you can use to build. We have requested that our Gadget app packages, both our React hooks package as well as the individual app API clients, are accepted as valid mini packages, but that's still going through validation. We have submitted the request to Shopify. We're waiting to hear back. So for now, you do have to use raw GraphQL queries. You cannot use your JavaScript API client or the React hooks. So I'm just getting my API query. And where am I getting this from? This is just, it is, for doing writes, we do have samples here. So for your create, delete, update actions, there is a GraphQL snippet. If you actually click on docs, go to my mini buyer model, and you can see that we actually have GraphQL snippets here as well. And if I want, I can actually open this in a GraphQL playground, and I've got my sample query. So I can just go ahead and copy this and bring it over, modified obviously what's being returned here, but that's really all I've done. I've simplified it obviously, but that's all I've done to go ahead and grab this query instead of writing it from scratch. I'm defining some types here, and then I just use a useEffect hook to go ahead. We get our valid token from the useAuth hook, get this token, and then just use fetch, send it as a authorization. It's gonna be a bearer token to my Gadget GraphQL API, send the query as a body, and then get the results. And then we can go ahead and actually use that result. I'm just using a set mini buyer data state to store it, and I can display that. So I've got a complete example down here. I'm just gonna paste this over my, there we go. I'm just gonna paste this over my minis app.tsx, bring it over here. Now this, what I've copied and pasted also includes all of the mini defaults. So by default, your mini is just gonna be some products, gonna be product rows and such. I can go ahead and update this, and I should be good to go. So, but by default, the mini is just using popular products, showing you how to use some of the built-in components and hooks. All I've done is extend it with this useAuth hook, add this useEffect to make that request, and then I've got a little blob here that's gonna just show my user ID. So I'm good. I've set up auth. Let's go ahead and try this out. So I think if I expand my README again, the last thing I need to do, npx shop minis dev. And this CD should actually be before we ran the shop mini setup, you do need to CD. So I'm gonna go ahead and modify my template so that that's included in the README. I'm just gonna close this README for now because we don't need it anymore. So I can go ahead, npx shop minis dev. This will start up the dev server for my mini. I'm presented with a few options. launch Google Chrome DevTools sounds super appealing. Yeah, like I don't want to use a mobile emulator. Let's just build it in the web and then deal with mobile later. Don't do that. It's a trap. Download Xcode, download Android Studio off the top. When you use, I'm going to use Xcode, the iOS simulator, so I'll just select the default here, but you only get mock data if you just use the web browser. So if you do actually want to test out authentication, you do have to use mobile. Use mobile from the start. It fooled me. I was a fool. I tried to take the shortcut. Don't do the shortcut. Take however long it takes to download Xcode. To actually get your debug console, when I'm using, I use the iOS simulator. You can use the Safari Web Inspector. So I actually press S. It'll pop open a little Safari page. Always get that. But it should say, cool, localhost is available. And now I've got my inspector and it works. So there we go. You can see it's highlighting. I just, there you go. So that's how you can do your typical web debugging. And you can see I have my mini buyer ID available here in my mini. So I know I am making my authenticated request successfully. I'm fetching my mini buyer ID. And if I just tab back over to Gadget, check out my mini buyer data, I see, cool, I've got that ID. It is verified. I've got a token expiry and I've got a session that is related to that mini buyer and has the Shop Mini Buyer's access control role. So that's the entire setup. I'm not going to go ahead and build an app. I will be coming out in the next couple days with kind of a full app tutorial that starts from here and then builds an actual app on top of it. As a little preview, what I'm doing is taking a picture with my mini, sending that over to Gadget, and then I'm forwarding that image as a base64 to OpenAI, along with a prompt that the user can input as a product search keyword recommender. So for example, if I take a picture and be like, hey, what shoes go with my outfit? Send that to OpenAI, get back some search keywords, and then use the Shopify API to recommend products based on those return search keywords. So that's what I'll be building. I'll be coming out with that in the next couple of days. This is how you go ahead and set up secure multi-tenant auth for your custom backends when you're building in Shop Minis. Cool. I'm glad this worked. This is the second time shooting the video. The first time I had a little mess up in the green screen, kind of hovering. My finger disappears here. So I've had to reshoot it. Was not super pleased, but I think it turned out well. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. Join our developer Discord. I've included a link in the video description. And once again, I'll be coming out with more Shop Mini information. Link to the starter template here will be available in the comments. I'm also going to have a blog post that I'll be linking to that has a bit more information just on the Shop Mini ecosystem, as well as a link to the Shop Mini docs. Now, right now, for the Shop Mini bounty, you do need to apply to Shopify, and the deadline is December 20th. So that's like in 2 weeks. It's pretty tight, but they're mini. So maybe you can roll something out quickly. Until next time, I hope you keep building more and coding less with Gadget.